Welcome to No Mama Grow Mama with your host, Naledi Stones, where we discuss all matters related to health and wellness. This episode is part 2 to my interview with Samantha Monpetit-Huynh, pre- and postnatal fitness expert and co-founder of Bellies Inc. In part 1, we speak specifically about the pelvic floor, and in this episode, we talk about the whole core, which of course includes the pelvic floor. So we talk about the mommy tummy, and we talk about really safe ways of how to get your body ready to resume exercise after having your baby. I learned a lot in this episode, and I really, really enjoyed it. I hope you do too. Welcome. We're back with Samantha Monpetit-Huynh, our pre- and postnatal fitness specialist and co-founder of Bellies Inc. So we're going to do this part 2 video now. We're talking about core health. We just did another video about pelvic floor health. So please absorb both those videos. It's going to be a lot of great information from Sam. Can you again tell us a little bit about yourself and about Bellies Inc?
Well, I'm the mother of 2 beautiful children. Rain, 2 beautiful girls. Yeah, they're children. Rain is 11 and Rio is 15. And my story with Bellies Inc. is that, I had one baby and then I had another and then I went like, what the hell happened? How come nobody told me that I was going to have a poochie tummy? Nobody told me I was going to pee my pants. How come nobody told me that things weren't going to go right back? I'm a fitness expert and I should know all of these things. And there's that pressure to, look a certain way and get back quickly. And I've totally kicked those expectations to the curb. But we found collectively as Bellies Inc. with my business partners, Julia DePaulo, who's a pelvic floor physio here in Toronto, and Kim Vopney, she's a personal trainer as well as myself, but she works in Port Moody, BC, that we found there was a big missing hole when it came to preparing women's bodies properly during pregnancy and helping them recover safely postpartum. With the fitness trends right now, it's like every year it's harder, faster, lift heavier, don't breathe, freaking lift cars over your head, whatever it is. And it's and insanity and all of it, like the workouts are even called insanity. There's only so much your body can take. And I mean, my personal experience is unless you're training to become a Navy SEAL, there's no reason for you to train to that extent. Now, in all fairness, I understand why. Because some people really align with that sort of thinking and it drives them to go, but they have to understand at what cost that they're doing this sort of exercise, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, totally. I mean, that is the thing that is for some people. I know you said that for yourself, you really need that intense physical exercise, but there has to be, culturally and medically, we're not talking about, what that might do if you do make that choice. So, I mean, at least if you choose to do that anyway, that you're informed. It's it can be part of our culture to know what's happening with your body. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. Like, can you talk about what is the core? What muscles? If you're looking at a mirror, because not everyone understands. I have a hard time with all the muscle names too. When you're looking at your body, what part of your body is the core?
Think of from here down to the bottom of your vagina.
So you even included like the chest, the breast.
Yeah, well, think about your torso. So basically, as far as anatomy is concerned, it's your diaphragm, which is a breathing muscle, your transverse, which is your deepest abdominal muscle, that starts from your ribs, goes down to your hips, and it wraps right around and inserts on either side of your spine. Think about your multifidus, which are your deep spinal muscles, and your pelvic floor. So we call that our core 4. And they work synergistically together for optimal core function. Right. Okay. A lot of people think the core is the rectus abdominis, that 6-pack, or their back and their back muscles. Yes, but they don't think about central. And if you think about an apple, its core is in the middle. That's what our core is. And a lot of people who've forgotten about, people typically think, I see people doing crunches and sit-ups saying, I'm working my core. You're not working any part of your core. None. Zero. You're not doing anything for yourself. So that's why the core 4 is really important and why we created our core confidence program, which is based on the core breath, is that you have to get that core four aligned properly so it's moving synergistically and then can continue to move and be incorporated in all the exercises that you do going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's your core.
Paradigm shift for me, because I would have included crunches in core. Yeah. Fantastic.
No. Stuart McGill is a very famous researcher, and he's a biomechanics in spine health. Mm-hmm. And everything that he teaches and preaches is all research-based. Now, in all fairness, he works with elite athletes, mm-hmm. right? And I don't work with elite athletes. I work with regular moms like myself, but elite athletes are people too. And we have a lot of the same anatomy, right? Obviously. Yeah. But he says crunches or sit-ups recruit less than 20% of your rectus abdominis.
Wow.
Less than 20. So I say to people, how's it working for you? People are like, I could do 200 crunches. Yeah. How's it working for you? Because if it was working, we wouldn't be here talking.
Right.
You wouldn't have a mummy tummy, right? Plus you're putting in a ridiculous amount of load on your rectus abdominis. Mm-hmm. So 2 big things that happen to your core in pregnancy and afterwards, but it happens, it's the result of the pregnancy, is pelvic floor dysfunction, which we talked about, mm-hmm. and diastasis rectus abdominis, or DRA is the acronym. And that's when your outermost abdominal muscles, so your 6-pack, mm-hmm. they separate because the linea alba that is supposed to connect the rectus abdominis together actually stretches. Mm-hmm. Okay. So to even start, your rectus muscles are not like this. They start like this.
Right.
Okay. And it's the linea alba, which is about, 1 and 1.5 fingers. Nobody really knows the normal width of a linea alba. But as your uterus grows, this connective tissue starts to stretch sideways, so the muscles separate. And the most current research has shown, now, although it was a small study, is that 100% of women get some degree of DRA by the end of their 3rd trimester. Because your body has to compensate some way to make space for the baby, right? Yeah. Like the baby doesn't grow up into our head, it grows out our stomach. So we have to make space, right?
Right.
And the smaller you are, typically the more spaces need to be created, especially if you've got multiple babies in there, right. Who knows how many, or if you have multiple pregnancies, that sort of thing. So what happens is when those muscles separate and that baby comes out, the muscles don't go bing. That would be nice, but that doesn't happen. They usually tend to hang around here, right? Mm-hmm. So diastasis rectus abdominis is usually the cause of what people call the dreaded mummy tummy, mm-hmm. right? Whereas no matter how many crunches you do, sit-ups, doesn't matter how many burpees you do, you don't eat food or whatever, you starve yourself, you've got this very defined roundness right around your belly button. Mm-hmm. Because now that there's no longer a baby in there, this connective tissue that's been stretched is kind of hanging out like a piece of saran wrap. It's very loose. And now the only thing between me and your organs is connective tissue. So it's actually your organs that are protruding through the separation.
Right.
Right? It's that poochiness. The research also shows that approximately 50% of people who have diastasis have some sort of pelvic floor dysfunction. Mm-hmm. And vice versa. And this is because that core 4 is now impacted, right? If you've got a diastasis and you have no support with the transverse and the multifidus, now your pelvic floor is going to have to take the brunt of that pressure, right? Diastasis recti, or DRA, is caused by any intra-abdominal forward forceful pressure on the recti. Okay. So a growing baby is the leading cause. Doing crunches, right? So if you lie down on the floor and you do a crunch, try your hardest to hold your stomach. It doesn't matter how much you hold it. When you lift up, your stomach is going to press out like this as you lift your head. Well, if I flex here, what am I doing this for? I want to build my bicep.
Right.
Every time I crunch, I am building my recti out. But that's not what we want, right? Our goal is with crunches, we want to flat stomach. So stop doing something that's causing your abdominals to come out. It doesn't, and you know what, at the end of the day, you can see all of these videos and Instagram pics of people doing all these ab exercises. You build abs in the kitchen. If you want to aesthetically see them, don't eat crap.
Oh yes. Okay.
Right? People who have uber lean 6-pack, don't drink alcohol. They don't have sugar. Like they are in such a clean diet. I'm telling you, it is hard, especially for women, because we carry approximately 25% more fat than men. And where do we carry it? Right around our midsection. And why is that? So we can bear children. Right. So for a woman to get that lean, it is way harder than men. I know it sucks, but that's the reality, right? So every time, so you got to be really careful when you're working with a diastasis and you're working your core and you're doing crunches or you're doing lower leg lifts and you're seeing that your back is coming off the floor and your stomach is pushing out to compensate so you can lift your legs. You are working completely against what your goal is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And every time you do that, you are pushing those recti muscles farther apart, which defeats the purpose, right?
Absolutely. So many great things. You've led me in, like, my mind is going in so many different directions right now.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad what you said about the food aspect of it. It's not just about going to work out. Like, you know, you could think about your diet first, and that would be so great for, you know, you and your whole family even to like start thinking about your diet first. But so I want to think about, so you mentioned about assessment, or not assessment. I want to ask you about assessment.
Okay.
You mentioned about the pelvic floor and how that, you know, it's part of the core.
Yeah.
So we talked in our last episode about going to get a pelvic floor assessment. When you go to get an assessment done for your core, does it all come together? Do you see two separate people? Okay.
No. So when I do an assessment, obviously I don't do an internal part like the pelvic floor physio. So that's why people will see me, but I say, I still want you to see a pelvic, but I saw you, Samantha. That doesn't matter. I didn't have my fingers in your vagina. It doesn't matter. Okay. I can only make an assumption by different assessment protocols that I do on the outside and kind of have an idea of what could be the problem, but I still wanted to get confirmed with the pelvic floor physio. Now I'm pretty good at of making a good assumption. A lot of times it will be confirmed, but sometimes I'm way off. Sometimes the physios come back and go, actually, no, Samantha, you're wrong. It's this. It's like, okay, good. Thanks for telling me, right? And then working with the pelvic floor physio, I'm able to know which exercises to focus on and what to stay away from, right? We're doing physio as well. But when you're doing an assessment, so when you're doing an assessment on the abdominals, assessing for a diastasis, there's two things you're assessing for. You're assessing to see how wide the abdominals have separated, yes, but that's usually just to give us a marker. What we're looking more for is now that connective tissue has been stretched, how deep do my fingers go in? So now that there's no longer a baby, can I feel your organs? And I'm literally trying from your sternum right down to the front of your pubic bone, okay, all the way down. Do my fingers really sink in? Can I feel your organs pulsing? Can I feel like your small intestine, your large intestine, all this other stuff? And I'm kind of getting graphic, but there's some people whose connective tissue is so weak that they don't have any tone whatsoever. So when they stand up, they do look pregnant, right? And they're frustrated and they're like, but I just had a baby and I'm sick and tired of people asking me, when am I expecting? Which I can't believe people still do that.
Right.
Like, honestly,
even like, when you see someone on the day that they're giving birth, you don't ask.
You still don't ask.
No. For one thing, it's not your business.
You assume that it's an alien or something, right? Like, you never ask. I don't know. Anyways, that floors me. Yeah. But so we check for tone. And so here's something that a lot of people don't know. Your transverse abdominis that I was talking about, that deep abdominal muscle, and your pelvic floor are best friends. And they actually co-contract. Okay. Co-contract. If they're working properly, they work together. Okay. So when we are treating a diastasis, and I really like to move people away from closing the gap, because I get a lot of people going, well, I was a 4 finger and now I'm a 1.5. And so what? I don't care. Because if you're a 1.5, but I can still feel your organs pulsing under my finger, I'm more concerned because you do not have any function.
Yes.
As opposed to I've got a 4 finger, but it's rock hard all the way down. I can bounce a quarter off of that linea alba. She is functional. She's got a functional diastasis. She's got a 4 finger separation. It doesn't matter. I want to get tone across the abdominal wall. It's not about how much you're close. Now, I shouldn't really say that, because if you have some who's got a large diastasis, like I've had people who I could put both hands right down the center. That obviously I want some closure. Yeah. But women can get really obsessed with the number of fingers. Like if I assess somebody, and I quite often assess people larger than others, because most women do not know how to assess correctly. I can tell you that right now. So I said, when I assess people, I often assess people larger than what other people have been assessed. So say somebody came to me from their personal trainer, and then I assess them. I say, you've got a 5-finger. Oh, well, so-and-so said it was only 2. Well, let me just tell you something. Most people do not know how to assess correctly. Okay. And your sister's she's going to experience them firsthand, and she's going to come back and go, oh my God, this is awesome. Right. And she'll teach all you guys. Because if you look online, most people, what they'll do is they'll lift their head up and do a crunch, and then they'll try to put their fingers in between the rectus abdominis. That's incorrect. You're in a crunch position. Who walks around in a crunch position? We don't walk around like this. We walk around upright. So you have to do it with the head rested on the floor. Put your fingers in and have them lift their head and stop the second you feel the muscles move. Okay. Just try to visualize that. So if you say, for example, you start with 2 fingers and you say, lift your head, and then they're like in a half crunch, then you're going to say, oh, you're 2 fingers. Well, guess what? No, their head is this far off the floor, right? Put their head back down, put another finger in. Now their head is only this far. Now you feel it. Put another finger in, lift their head. Now their head. So a lot of times those people are a lot bigger because they shouldn't be in a full crunch before the muscles come together. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I was going to ask you about self-assessment because I did that for myself as well. And I was wondering, is this actually accurate? So I'm trying to picture it when you're saying lay flat, put 2 fingers in, then sit up a little bit. If you don't feel something, then put another finger in until you do.
No. So you lie flat on the back and make sure that your abdominals are relaxed. A lot of people engage when they lift their head because they're used to doing crunches. So you really have to make sure that the abdominals are completely relaxed. Put your fingers in and feel for the tension. Like, is it tense? Is it mushy? Or is it like springy? Or is it like, I can get my fingers in, and make a note of that, whatever that is. So lay flat on the floor, and you want to put your fingers right along the midline, right from your sternum all the way down. So you're like this, and you're going all the way down, and your fingers are pointed right towards the floor. Right down, right? So you're going like this, and you're feeling all the way down, and you're feeling for, is it mushy, or is it springy, or is it nice and hard, whatever it is, and make a note of that. Then keeping your abdominals relaxed again, and you're completely flat on the floor, you put your fingers in, keep your fingers in, and I would start just above the belly button to start. And you lift your head, start with 2 fingers, lift your head, and stop when you feel the muscles grab on either side, right? So your muscles should be like this, grabbing. So whatever that is, I want you to put your head back down and try to put another finger in and do it again. And come up until you feel the muscles grab. Go back and down. Keep adding fingers until a finger gets pushed out, if that makes sense. Okay. Because if this is the ground and your head is all the way up here before you feel those muscles come together, what happened to all of this part here? Your muscles still had to move. Right? And we want to get you when you're almost, like when you're lying down, we want to get you when you're almost in an upright position, as opposed to this is where you had to be before I could feel the muscle. Because you don't walk around like this. We walk around upright. So we want to get it the second your muscles move. The second, and that is the normal, that is what your measurement would be. But again, that's just a note. Okay? It's very common and normal that you would come out of a first pregnancy immediately postpartum, 4 or 5 fingers. Forget about it. That's normal, whatever. But it also doesn't really make that much sense assessing anyways, because it takes a good 3 months or whatever it is for your uterus to go back. Right. So again, I'm more concerned about is the tone. And when you do the core breath and you get that core 4 working synergistically together, and you get that pelvic floor and that transverse working together, then when you put your fingers in to check for the integrity of that linea alba, believe it or not, when you have a good contraction of your pelvic floor, then you can create tension. Then you feel it's like, oh, now I can actually create tension from inside. And that's what we're trying to do is, we have 2 rules of thumb. Right after you have your baby, within 24 hours, you start with the core breath, which is part of our core 4 program. But then you also need to wrap your abdominals. Now, binding and corseting and all that stuff has made this big, huge surge. And it's following along the same lines of wearing something, but those are way too constrictive. When you bind or you constrict like this, so think about your pelvic floor. If I'm cinching my waist in, where's all the pressure going?
Up and down?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you have someone who's peeing her pants or she feels any pressure in her pelvic floor, guess what? She's going to put that on and she's going to push that organ right out of her body.
Right.
Bad idea. Same thing with, Spanx. They got a bad rap for a while because doctors were saying it's too constrictive because it does displace your organs. Right. You should be able to breathe. Okay. So what we developed our tank and wrap. So I don't have the tank here, and the tank it was designed to wear under the wrap because most wraps are recommended that you wear something underneath it just for just to feel more comfortable. But it's a very light, gentle compression. And for people who've had cesarean deliveries, really like it because it's just a little bit snug. It gives you a little bit of support. It's not like this. It's not, sucking in everything, right? But then you've got a wrap that you put on top. I'll just move my chair. And it's made out of 4 pieces here. Okay, so 2 on this side and 2 on this side, and then they're just attached at the end. And what you do is you put the lumbar piece in the back. Yes. Right, in the low back. You cross it in front, and then you wrap from the bottom. And see what I'm doing? And I'm just gently, it's just a hug. Yeah. Right? And then I just take this part over here and I just, make it like that. Right. So it's virtually undetectable under your clothing. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the whole idea is to give you that external support until internal support is created by doing your proper restorative exercises. Right. So at the end of the 8 weeks, you no longer need to wear something because now you've created the foundation from within. Right. So you would wear that just for the first 8 weeks until you're a bit stronger. And is that so that's basically, like in a perfect world, people are pregnant, they would buy the system. So that means they would get the tank and the wrap. They get the exercises with them because you also want to do these same core exercise that you do for restoration. Yes. You're also doing them to prepare your body. You do them during pregnancy too. Okay. To help avoid a lot of these things from happening. Right. So you actually can't avoid a diastasis because like I said, remember 100% of women get some degree, but you can minimize the impact for sure. Right. Being smart, here's the thing. Being on all fours when you're pregnant is not a good idea. Being on all fours? Yeah. Okay. Because if you know that you're going to get a diastasis and you're all fours, you're working against gravity. You've got a baby now that connective tissue is already under load because that baby is continuing to grow. Right. Then you're going to go on all fours and now the baby's hanging right towards the floor. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, there are some exercises to do. I was just thinking about that going on all fours, and I can picture myself with my second and third kids. Like you do some exercises to help get the baby in an optimal position for birth. Okay. But you're saying for an extended time, or what do you think? I just avoid it altogether. So here's the thing. So if you have a baby who is transverse lie, yes, then forget about diastasis, go on all fours all you want, stand on your head. That trumps diastasis. But if you know that baby is an ideal position, I would just modify everything on an incline. So I would just have their hands on a wall or have their hands on a bench. Okay. So just that they're more like this, so they still have some support from the front of their pubic bone here. Right. As opposed to this, there's no support at all. Right. Right? Okay. So, yeah. So there's other ways to modify. That's fantastic. Yeah, for sure. You can still make extra space for baby, but then you're still protecting your abdominal. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This may not be an important question really, but it's one that I had on my mind. Sure. Because I know that some people will be thinking about it. Yeah. Why is it that for some people we do come back, a little bit? I know it's but you're smile automatically because I'm we do come back tighter together. Those are the people we love to hate. Oh, I thought you were going to say, because it's not about the coming together. Whether it's the coming together or that strengthening muscle, why is it that some of us do and some of us don't? Because the research shows that a third of people do automatically go back. Okay. And I don't know why that is. I'm sure genetics play a big factor that's my personal opinion. Right. It's just you can take 2 pregnant people, I can train them exactly the same way. I can give but somebody's going to present differently the other one. The outcome's going to be different, right? Yeah. it can't be a cookie cutter thing because you're dealing with human beings, right? And who knows what they did during that pregnancy that maybe have minimized it. Like I was saying, maybe they didn't do certain things and the other person did more things that could have exacerbated and made those situations worse, really stretched it out more. A good friend of mine, she's got 4 grown boys. 2 of them are twins. She barely has a diastasis.
Wow, twins. Because I was thinking that's the key, like with multiples, it's like it's like a
no-brainer. And she probably did have somewhat, but I think she's just got awesome genes and she's got amazing tissue and she's one of the lucky ones.
Right.
So there's the thing. And this is why we recommend the wrapping and getting on top and harnessing those 8 weeks, because if 100% of people get diastasis and only a third of them recover spontaneously, you've got 2/3 that are still suffering from whatever it is, whatever their issues are. The research also shows that any spontaneous healing that is going to happen is during those first 8 weeks. So why not take advantage of that healing time and do something to help align yourself, get those muscles working from the inside. And when you say that to somebody, they're like, oh my God, I don't have time to breathe and eat, never mind exercise. Honestly, these are so Mickey Mouse. But people, and yoga instructors can really appreciate that. Most people have no idea how to stand and don't know how to breathe.
Yes.
And they have no idea how much just those 2 simple things can impact their entire core and the way it functions optimally.
Right.
So then when you do decide to go to that class or do this, you're not falling apart. You're not a mess.
Wouldn't it be great if we could, like, I don't know, it's one of my passions that I'm like, wouldn't it be great if we could like create this culture of in your early postpartum period, you slow down, you hold on to your baby, breathe, retrain your core, rest, think about eating nutritious foods, right? Like it's all goes together.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
And I mean, that's the way it used to be, right?
Yeah.
It does take a freaking village to raise a child. It does, but the village is gone.
Yeah.
And even though we're living in such an industrialized city of 2.5 million people feel so freaking isolated when they have a baby, because that pressure to get your body back and be superwoman and freaking eat organic and have cloth diapers and nurse your baby till they're 5 and do everything and juggle and have sex with your husband and look awesome in your jeans. Like it's ridiculous. And husbands have no pressure.
Yeah.
None.
Well, that's not true. I was really hard on my husband, actually.
Well, I know. I mean, pressure from us, but not from the world.
Not from the world.
The world saying, are you a hot dad? Are you ripped in the gym after you've had your baby? Are you blah, blah, blah? Like, they're having cigar parties going, woo-hoo, you had a baby.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true. It's absolutely true.
Yes.
I think the biggest thing is that, it is that like separation in our culture. We're not a community. We don't have women coming together like we used to. So we need to do that more.
Totally
part of what Salsa Babies is about, part of what your thing is about as well. It's like, bring us together and treat ourselves and each other right. And celebrate our births.
Or treat ourselves and each other the way we would treat our daughter. If they're like, I'm sure you did. I don't know what kind of relationship with you had your mom. So sorry if I said, but me and my mother always had a love-hate relationship because she's a single mom raising a very strong, independent daughter. So she basically raised herself just like I'm raising myself with my kids who I'm fighting with. But man, the second I had my child, I was on the phone and I was like, yeah, now I understand why you're such a pain in my ass. It was like this big aha moment within 24 hours. Now I totally understand it. And I'm like, I don't understand how you didn't ship me off at because I was a pain in the butt as a teenager. And I was like, but she stepped up to the plate. She was at my house every day for weeks after I had my baby.
That's lovely.
I don't know. And so there's a lot of women who, I've met over the years, I've trained, they have no family here. They have no support. Like it's heartbreaking. Actually,
I was kind of the opposite. Like I had support, not anyone that said they were going to come over every day, but I would not take help. If anyone had offered it to me, I would not. So the strength is in the community being able to offer the help and in the mom being able to take the help.
Yes.
It's both sides of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'd say that to people all the time. Like, what advice, like, what should I do? I'm like, because I had my stepmother come over and do my daughter's laundry.
Mm-hmm.
I had my mom, she brought over flats of food and would freeze it.
Yeah.
I hired a cleaning lady, and I was like, they were like, why did you do that? I was on mat leave. I was like, I took it out of my savings. I didn't care. Oh yeah. I took all the help in the world.
That's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah. And I tell people, and they're like, oh, but I can't afford it. I said, you can't afford not to. Right?
Mm.
And they're like, oh, but you have it together. Yeah, right.
That's another story.
Perception is a funny thing. But if you think I have it together, can you imagine if I didn't accept that help, where I'd be like now? Mm.
Yeah, totally.
So do you regret not asking for the help?
I don't. There isn't really much of anything that I regret in my life.
Oh, good.
Truly, like, I mean, there are some things like that I have a heavy heart about a little bit, like for a time, but it's all about learning.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if you don't make a mistake, you don't really.
Oh, for sure. That's true too. Absolutely. Yeah.
We totally have been contemplating a cleaning lady nowadays after.
I thought you were going to say contemplating having a fourth.
Now that's another thing, but my husband's cut me off. No, that won't happen again. No, we're done. And that's okay. Yeah. Now I get to like be that annoying lady that does these like shows and says like, this is what you should do the right way instead. Yeah. Anyway, so going back to the diastasis and the core health, I still want to think about like, even though we're supposed to be taking this time to like slow down, retrain our bodies, breathe, everything like that, we do still want to walk around a little bit. You got to at least
for sure.
And if you have a toddler, like what things can we do still, even fresh postpartum?
Well, fresh postpartum. Well, and here's the thing. So we've taken into consideration all of that in our core confidence program.
Yeah.
So week 1 is the core breath.
Mm-hmm.
Week 2 is the bridge, like when you're lying back and you lift your pelvis and your bum off the floor. Week 3 is clamshell when you're lying on your side. But then we get right into squats and lunges.
Okay, cool.
Because you have to, I mean, how many times do you squat? Like 1,000 times a day, picking your baby up, going up and down the stairs, putting it in the crib, like bending over in the crib's like at the bottom of the floor. And oh my God, right? So we try to teach you how to do it functionally.
Right.
Making sure even when you go for that walk, making sure you're in proper alignment. So your pelvic floor is working. So I'm going to take a step back. The premise of the core breath is setting you up with proper alignment and getting your core 4 working synergistically with very little or no effort. Okay? So when you inhale, your diaphragm expands and descends, right? To fill up with air. If you're aligned properly, when your diaphragm expands and descends, your pelvic floor will expand as well. When you exhale, your diaphragm comes back up, brings the pelvic floor back up with it. So this is the kind of synergy that we want when we're breathing, if we're in proper alignment. But if you're somebody who, so this is my diaphragm, my pelvis.
Yeah.
But if I'm somebody who tucks my bum under and I lean back, now this can't happen. Right. My diaphragm can't really move because my ribs are behind my pelvis, and my pelvic floor can't work in alignment with my breath, right? Yeah. So this is what I'm looking for. And then when you breathe like that, then your transverse and your multifidus do this as well. So it's like a box kind of thing that's happening. Inhale, exhale, right? So making sure you're in proper alignment. So your pelvic floor is doing what it has to do on your walks. When you're going down in that deep squat about to pick up your baby, I want you to inhale and I want you to exhale and do a Kegel or whatever that is, whatever works for you to contract your pelvic floor, and then pick that baby up, pick up that car seat, whatever that is. That is this, again, this is all we teach you all of this stuff in the core confidence program, but showing you how to properly align yourself and engage that core 4 in everything you do, so you're always supported.
Yeah. Because
do you work out in the gym?
Not anymore. My only exercise is salsa babies now.
Oh, okay, good. Well, that's good exercise. Yeah. So for those people who are in the gym or they've ever worked with personal trainers, they know they need to they need to exhale on the work or the effort, right? So if you're doing a bicep curl, you inhale, you exhale, and you lift. It's the same thing. When you inhale, exhale, do your Kegel, and lift and come up out of that squat. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing, right? But we teach you to it slowly, and we slowly add it up. So then it makes sense, right? We start you with this, just the basic fundamentals the first week, and then we slowly build. But That's what we want people to do, because what happens is that people aren't taught how to properly align themselves and breathe and all that stuff. They pick up the baby and they empty their bladder because all that pressure from just coming out of a squat, their pelvic floor can't withstand it.
Right.
Yeah. So we like all of our exercises to be very functional. So you don't throw your back out when you turn over, in the back seat and you're trying to get the soother in the baby's mouth while you're driving, and all the crazy stuff that you do, or you jump in the back seat to try to nurse while your husband's driving. I've done all that crazy stuff. Right.
We've all done
screaming and you're right. We try to teach you all these things, but the core breath is the foundation of all the exercises, so then you've got the support that you need.
And I'm sorry, the core breath, and how do you break that down in that core program that you have? Yeah, the core breath is the first exercise out of the 8. Okay. And we basically say to anybody, even though it is, in a perfect world, it's designed to happen over 8 weeks, take as long as you need to master each exercise before you progress. Because it's going to depend on if you had a good night's sleep, which, pretty good chance those first early weeks, there's no such thing, right? Because sleep deprivation really affects the way this and your muscles work together. Right. Absolutely. And so there's no use in you trying to push yourself when you'd rather just pass out on the floor. Because it's just going to be defeating, and you're going to get frustrated and you're going to say, screw this, I don't want to do it. Yeah, totally. Right? Yeah. So master each one first before you progress. And I had someone on Instagram message me. She goes, I've been doing the core breath for 3 weeks. Is it too long for me to, is it too late for me to progress? I was like, it's never too late. Because as much as this was designed for pregnant women and new moms, anybody can do it. Yeah. Anybody who has back pain, hip pain, pees their pants, has a mummy tummy, it doesn't matter. Man, woman, child can do it. Absolutely. Because we all have pelvic floors and core muscles. Yeah, that's for everyone. We're kind of we're talking specifically about the postpartum period, a little bit of focus on prenatal as well, but it is everybody. We all, we all get back pain sometimes. Men can have incontinence as well. So that's all, it's important for everybody. I work with a pelvic floor physio over here who sees a lot of men. Okay. Yep. I was going to go into, okay, for men. So that beer tummy look, that is abdominal separation, right? A lot. Well, that's another one of the causes of diastasis is beer bellies. Yeah. And that's constant pressure. Right. But that's another issue. They just need to scale down the beer. That's totally, there's more to it than doing the belly wrapping. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Styles everything. Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so we were talking in our last video about everyone should go and get, it'd be most ideal, gold standard, everyone goes to get a pelvic floor assessment, whether you've had a baby or not, go and get checked. Who would you say should get an abdominal, a core assessment? Just postpartum, just before resuming exercise, only if you've had multiples? Who should come in? I would say postpartum for sure, everyone. Okay. Yeah, why not? During pregnancy, really, it's not necessary, because if we know everybody's going to get it, yes. Which, if you want a confirmation, usually what I will do is somebody who is in their 3rd trimester and their tummy is quite tight and big, I'll just have them lean back on their forearms. And as soon as they see that kind of coning, we call it the alien football that comes out, you've got a diastasis, and then people will be like, oh, but what's the tension like? Well, I can't assess tension because you got a baby in there, right? That's firm. So I would say everybody postpartum for sure, just to kind of get an idea and make sure that they can create tension by doing a good pelvic floor contraction. Right. And if you've, so we have a certification course for personal trainers, which your sister is going to do, and other physiotherapists to teach them how to do this properly. Because like I said in was it this video I said that most people don't know how to assess correctly? You want to make sure that you're being assessed by somebody who knows what they're doing and then can reassess you maybe a few weeks or a few months down the road just to make sure that you've got it. So then you can progress to other core exercises. Crunches should never, ever, 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 and if I didn't say it clear enough, ever be in your exercise routine. They're a waste of time and they overload your spine. They're really, really bad for your spine. But man, woman, anybody, pregnant. No point. They're less than 20% of your rectus. What are you doing that for? Yeah. And you're creating so much pressure on your discs on your back. It doesn't
they're silly and they're really outdated. And I don't understand why the fitness industry even continues to portray them it's ridiculous. But planks, things like stir the pot on a ball. So it's a plank, it's a moving plank on the ball. Those have been shown to use 100% of your rectus.
Now planks, I didn't think were great.
Okay. But planks, so this is what, so I'm glad that you said that, because planks are something that you definitely have to work up to.
Okay.
You have to make sure, remember I was talking about creating that tension across your abdominal wall, the linea alba? You have to be able to maintain that tension when you go on all fours. Right? If you can do that for a little while, then we slowly build up. Now you do something called a crouching tiger. So you're on all fours and you lift your knees off the floor a couple of inches. Can you maintain the tension? If you can, then let's do it to a knee plank. Then let's go to a full plank. Then we'll add a ball. So this is something I do over time, like months and months and months before I get someone to do, stir the pot and doing different things. But like crunches are boring and they hurt your hips and they're repetitive and like they're silly. Yeah. At the end of the day, let's remember too, it's not a matter of how many crunches you can do that determine how strong your core is. You can have a strong core, but still be layered in fat. Yes. Right? So if you want to be able to visually see your abdominals, then just stop eating crap. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It is that simple. Yeah, it is. Okay. So I think now would be a great time to do this sum up of our chat with your 3 things that you'd love to share with new moms. Any in terms of core health? Okay. So don't forget that the pelvic floor is the foundation of your core. Yes. It's the most important. If you noticed when I put the wrap on, I wrapped from the bottom up. So if you're ever going to wear an abdominal wrap or a binder, obviously I recommend the Bellies Inc. Wrap and tank. Wrap from the bottom up, so you're lifting away from the pelvic floor, lifting everything away, because that's what you want to do. You do not want to put intra-abdominal pressure on your pelvic floor. Please take, I already talked about taking crunches out of your exercise regime. Yeah, that's just, they're useless. They're a waste of time. And make sure that you're just very mindful in the way you move and the way you stand, the way you sit. You want to make sure, so here's a simple tip. Chin in, ears over shoulders. Your nipples should be headlights, not skylights. Right. Okay? So because in military posture, they bring shoulders back and they thrust your chest forward. Absolutely not. We want to make sure that your diaphragm is aligned over your pelvis. So the top of your ribs should be aligned with the front of your hip bones, and your butt should be the last thing out the door. No wedgies. Relax your glutes and focus on proper posture and breathing. When you're sitting, sit on your 2 sit bones in the front of your perineum. You want to make sure you always have that S curve in your low back. Okay, you want neutral posture. Neutral posture is your A out of your ABC. So your core breath is your alignment, breathing, and your coordination. You can't breathe properly if you're not aligned properly. Mm-hmm. You can't coordinate your core 4 if you're not breathing properly. Does that make sense? Absolutely, it does make sense. Yeah. That's fantastic. I want to make sure we put a link in our show notes as well, again, to the Core Confidence program, and as well to that belly wrap that you had. Some people will definitely want to check that out. Katie, you're incredible to talk to. I'm like, my mind is going, for myself, like to think about, I always was thinking about these things anyway, but I wasn't always, I like thinking about it differently. It's not about bringing the muscles together. It's about that tone, oh my gosh, of the linea alba, right? Like that, yes. That tissue in between. Yeah. So, and making sure that when you're moving, that the tone is being maintained. Like basically with the diastasis, you're trying to just maintain the pressures that are going throughout your body. And when you've got a poochiness, that means your body isn't being able to maintain that pressure. Right. Optimally. And a big part of it is just the way you stand and you breathe. Absolutely. Right? And if you can do that, then you can do planks and you can run and you can go to boot camp and you can do these things. But if you walk around all slouched around and you're not doing anything and you're letting all these other muscles slack and become dysfunctional, you can't expect to get a flat tummy. Anyway, thank you again so much for talking with us. You're very welcome. Information. I'm sure I'll be chatting again soon. It's on my goal to do your whole program, to be able to do some core assessments in college where I live. So, that would be awesome. Yay. Awesome. Cool. Okay, thanks so much, Sam. You're very welcome. Okay. Take care. Bye.